Have you ever considered adding reflections to your images? Reflections can add depth and realism to your images, and this can be very tricky to create. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this in a very few simple steps. Let's get right to it. The first thing we want to do now is just to create our new project, and I'm going to use 19.2 as my width, 10.8 as my height. Now click OK. And now I'll go straight to the car image we are going to be using. I'll drag and drop it into my project and reduce the size of the car. So once that is done, the next thing I have to do now is to create the background. And my background is going to be a gradient background, which I'm going to create using these two colors. So I'll just select the first color. I'll select, it will be this color on this glass, and the next color I'm going to select is going to be this yellow or orange color here. So once I've selected that, I just need to activate my gradient tool and I apply the gradient like this. No, I go the opposite direction and I bring it down a little. What I'm trying to achieve here is to make sure that this transition here, this color at this point, is same as the color on this window. So the next thing I have to do now is just to create a copy of the car. Once that copy is created, I will now go to the layer mask of this copy that I've created. I'll hold Control or Command on my keyboard and I click to make a selection. Then I'll click on the image itself and then I'll click on Control or Command J on my keyboard to create a copy. Once that copy is created, I will delete this other layer. What I'll do next is to flip this layer vertically. So I'll do Control T at this point and then I right click and I select flip vertical. So once I take it like this, it has been flipped vertically. So the next thing we want to do now is to make this to appear as a reflection. So we have to warp this so it can have the same perspective as this car. So what we will do now is just to select this layer, we go to effects and we go to perspective warp. Once perspective warp is selected, I just need to click here and create a shape like this and modify these grids, modify the grid like this. And then once this is done, I will draw another grid by the right hand side like this, and now that is already created. So I can now use this grid to warp this image in a very good way. So what I'll do now is just to click up here on warp, and once warp is selected, I can use these points now to do modifications. So I'll just click like this, bring it up like this, reduce this like this, and I bring this part. So once it is warped like this, I can now proceed with my effects. I just need to select on this tick button up there. Once that is validated, the next thing I want to do now is to create a mask on this, and I'm going to be using my gradient tool to proceed. Once the mask has been created, I'm going to use my gradient tool to create the reflection effect. So what I'm going to do now is just to click here and apply this effect like this, apply the gradient like this. So just do several tries and that is it. So the next thing I did was to include the image of this lady into the project. So I just need to select her, drag and drop into the project, Control T, and I modify the image. Once I've scaled it down enough, take enter. I may want to adjust the position of this and maybe increase the size a little like this. And then the next thing I want to do is bring this lady somewhere here, and I will do the same process. Control J, make a selection here. Once I've created a copy, I'll flip it vertically and I bring it down and I make sure I reposition it at the point where her legs are touching. So I create a mask at this point, use my gradient tool again, select the mask, and I use my gradient tool again to apply the effect, something like this. Yeah, I think that is good. One thing we need to do on this vehicle now is just to add some shadows in between the vehicle and the reflection. So I'll just take this down. I'll create a layer in between them. I select a black color for my brush, increase my brush size, something like this, and I just dab like that. Ctrl T, and I scale it down like this, and I move this to this point, and I reduce it like this. Once that is positioned, I'll create another layer again, and I'll use my brush, reduce the size of the brush, and I'll paint in my shadows like this. Create another layer, reduce the brush size again, and I make the shadows at these points a little more darker. I'll select both at the same time, and I move them to the left. So you can add this same effect to text. Let's say we wanted to do a reflection on text. Let me just hide this for now, and I type my text effects, for instance. And once that is done, all I need to do now is just to create a copy of the layer, and I create a mask to it. Ctrl T, vertical, and I bring it below like this. And I use my gradient to just apply like that. See, the reflection effect has already been applied. So this is how you add simple reflections to your images, text, and shapes, or even objects, anything whatsoever. Using this effect will work very well. So thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please do well to support me by liking this video and subscribe to my channel.